Hi, my name is Pam Hankins and I'm the co-chair for the Cook and Eat Committee for Nordic Northwest. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to share a recipe for Bløtkake, as well as demonstrate how to make it and decorate it. This cake was chosen because the Midsummer celebration is this month, and this cake is one that is often shared for dessert. It is easy, light, and summery, and makes use of strawberries, which are in season and are wonderful at this time of the year in the Northwest. To begin the cake, the first thing that we're going to do is preheat our oven to 350 degrees, which I've already done. The next thing we're going to do is prepare the cake pans. Today I'm using two 9-inch round cake pans. I have a small piece of paper towel and some Crisco. I'm just going to lightly spread it on the bottom of the cake pan. No need to do the sides for this type of cake. I have pre-cut pieces of a piece of parchment to fit. Place that in there, and then just a little bit more Crisco on top of that. And again, no need to do the sides on this type of cake. Now that the pans are prepared, we're ready to start making the cake. This cake is what they call the sponge cake, and it doesn't use leavening. Instead, you beat a lot of air into the eggs and the sugar. It's very important for the eggs to be at room temperature, that if they're too cold, that it will impede, and it will impede the process, the chemistry of it, and your cake will not rise and be as fluffy as using. So very important to have room temperature. So I'm going to start by adding my ingredients to the mixer. First, 4 whole eggs at room temperature. 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, or 150 grams. To the eggs and the sugar, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. That helps with the structure of the cake. I am going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract for flavor. I'm going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and about a tablespoon of water. I'm going to start off by mixing this slowly until it's combined, and then I'm going to increase the speed to high for about 5 or 6 minutes until it comes to what's known as the ribbon stage. This has been beating now for about 5 minutes, and it's now at ribbon stage. And the way you can tell is it forms a ribbon as it falls off the beater and then sinks into the batter. That's how you know it's perfect. The last step in making the cake is to fold in 3/4 of a cup, or 87 grams of cake flour. I'm using cake flour because it's lighter for this type of a cake. To fold, you want to do it very gently as to not deflate all the air that you have now incorporated by beating. So around, through, and over. Around, through, and over. And do that until all of the flour is incorporated. Throughout this, you've heard me talk about the ingredients in measurements in grams. I wanted to take a second to talk about why I do that. I've chosen to, and have observed in working with the chefs at Nordic Northwest, use of the weight measurement instead of just using, a 1/2 cup, etc. Both are fine, but I choose to do the weights because it allows me to be more consistent with the ingredients. If you'd like to test this out at some point in your own kitchen, get a cup measure and do the dunk and sweep, and then grab a scale and weigh how much it is, and then spoon flour into a cup and do the same thing, get a scale and measure it, and then sift the flour and do the same thing. You'll find that you probably have 4 different weights. That's one of the reasons that I choose to do it, for consistency in cake, so I know I'm always going to get the same result. Now that my flour is all folded in, I'm going to just put a tiny bit of cake flour in the base of these pans, just to ensure non-sticking and release. I'm now going to divide equally the batter between the two cake pans. Then we're going to put it in the oven, and they bake for about 15 to 17 minutes. My oven, you guys all know your own ovens. My oven at home is usually 15 minutes. You want to just be able to lightly touch it and it springs back. But see how light and lemony and the color of the cake batter and how light and fluffy it is. Can't wait to try it. Into the oven for 15 minutes, or 15 to 17 minutes. While we're waiting for the cake to bake, I'm going to begin to make the filling and/or frosting. The first thing is preparing the strawberries. You use 3 cups of cut strawberries, which is about 490 grams. And the way I cut them is to cut, after removing the top, I cut the strawberry in quarters and then slice it. And this is also obviously have all been pre-washed and everything prior to this. This time of year we have so many beautiful strawberries in the Northwest that makes this cake wonderful. Now I'm going to add, and this is no more than a tablespoon of sugar. Just want to put a little bit of sugar over the top here and mix it in, and we're going to let this sit while I prepare the rest. The sugar starts the juices flowing from the strawberries and just adds a little bit more sweetness. Now, judging from whatever strawberries you have, you may add less sugar than that too. If they're fresh picked from the farms here in the Northwest, you may not need to even put a whole tablespoon. It might be more like a teaspoon. Just enough to give yourself a little bit of a sauce. We set that aside for at least 5 minutes and start working on the rest of the filling. Now we're going to make the cream mixture. I have 2 ounces or 55 grams of cream cheese. I have 1 1/4 cup of confectioner's powdered sugar or 140 grams and 1 teaspoon vanilla. I'm going to mix those together until they get creamy and then scrape the bowl. I'm then going to very slowly add 1.5 cups of whipping cream. Slowly add the cream and then make sure that there's no lumps, and then once that happens I'm going to turn the speed up to high until it reaches soft peak stage. You want to beat it until it's at soft peak stage, which is here. You can just see the trails, and if you pick this up, see how if it was at stiff peak, it would stand straight up, but as you can see, our little top folds right over, and that's perfect.
Go ahead.
I'm going to add the strawberries that we had previously chopped and let sit. Using the same folding motion as I demonstrated before, although I'm not worried too much about deflating air. The same reason, it still works well to incorporate the strawberries and a little bit of sugar that's in there. Cakes are finished, just slightly spongy to the touch. Let them cool for about 10 minutes and then run a spatula around the outside and turn them out onto a cooling rack until they're completely cooled. Now that the filling is done and the icing, we can begin to frost begin to assemble the cake. One of the things I neglected to mention when I was putting together the filling, however, is the reason that I put some cream cheese into the whipping cream is it stabilizes it. Gelatin will also do that, but cream cheese, I think, has a better flavor. That can be done for other than just this filling. So anytime that you have a whipped cream that you're adding for a dessert or a topping, etc., just add a little bit of the whipped cream or cream cheese into the whipping cream and it will do the same thing for you. I'm going to place one of the layers of cake, center it on the cake plate, and one of the tips I'm going to share is I have small pieces of parchment paper that I'm going to insert just slightly under the cake around the outside. This prevents, as I'm icing, in the event that I drop some, or if I'm icing the whole side, prevents it from getting on the plate, and it just keeps things a little neater. I'm going to put about half of the mixture in the center here. I like to use an offset spatula, and I've really been intrigued with the icing or the decorating that has been happening that allows you to see the layers of the cake and the filling, so it doesn't go all the way down the sides. However, if you like to have it go all the way down the sides, you may certainly do that. I'm not going to on this one. Spread it so it's even. And take your next layer and put that right on top. And put the remainder of the filling on top. And there you can see all the different layers. This cake, after you're finished decorating, this cake just needs to be refrigerated for about 2 hours, and then you'll be ready to serve your guests. In addition to the strawberries, you can also use different fruits with this. I have in the summer used peaches, raspberries, blueberries, etc. Also, instead of mixing the fruit into the whipped cream mixture, you can layer the whipped cream mixture on and then put a variety of different fruits on top of it. Works both ways, so it's very customizable to your families and how you enjoy eating your cake. It's a great one to use all summer long. And here's our finished Bløtkake. I want to say a very special thank you to my son Troy Hankins, who is a COVID graduate of Washington State with a degree in digital technology and culture, who has been behind the camera coaching me and helping me, and thank him for his love and support. I also want to thank his wife Renata, who is my favorite sous chef, and also for her support and encouragement in all of this. My son Brent Hankins for his love and support, and for his kitchen. Easier to film here than it was in my own, and his dog Odin for not eating the cake before we were ready. I also want to thank my husband for all his love and support and encouragement in this project. And I want to thank all of them for enjoying eating everything that comes out of my kitchen. I hope that you will make this cake and share it with your loved ones. I also hope that we'll be together in class, in person soon. Until then, stay safe, happy baking, Bar Shagoo.